A new dawn, a new horizon of healthcare delivery and patient safety. We have a goal, a noble drive.
Hand in hand, step by step, we will thrive.
To march ahead together for a bright and shiny future with patient safety and quality healthcare. We are CAHO, your healthcare companion, standing right by your side. Joining hands for building a vision, shaping a culture for patient safety.
Setting up standards with best foot forward. Won't ever leave no stone unturned.
We wear our pride on our sleeves, work with passion like a breeze, train people, enhancing their skills, spreading the message of quality healthcare for safer patient care, a better nation.
We have a goal,
We have a goal,
a noble drive.
noble drive. Hand in hand, step by step, we will thrive. To march ahead together for a bright and shiny future with patient safety and quality healthcare. We are CAHO, your healthcare companion, standing right by your side.
Good evening to all of you. My name is Nishant. I am the Secretary of Healthcare Division CAHO, and I welcome all of you in 19th CXO Roundtable meet this time. So far, we had the contribution of more than 1200 CXOs in past 18 CXO roundtables. CAHO, as you are aware, is the consortium of accredited healthcare organization with the primary goal of enabling quality initiatives in the healthcare system in India and across the globe. The CXO Meet by CAHO's healthcare division aims to bring together top executives, decision makers, and thought leaders from various healthcare organizations of the region to exchange ideas, share best practices, and discuss strategies to enhance patient safety, quality, and accreditation, and the other concurrent issues in the healthcare system. I welcome you all to today's CXO Roundtable on hospital data security and management and to avoid cyber ransom threats. In past 15 days, you must have read news about ICMRI leak of COVID vaccination data of patients, about AIMS disasters in the IT infrastructure, and now today the news of Indian hotels, Taj Group of hotels leaking more than 1.5 lakh customers database. So every day the security threats are there and the hackers from the dark web are scouting for opportunities to get into our IT infrastructures. I welcome Vinayak sir, Mr. Vinayak Godse, CEO, Data Security Council of India, to accept our request to conduct this session today and educate us in the healthcare fraternity that what steps we need to take to have our robust IT security plans and risk management in our IT infrastructure, because we handle healthcare data of patients And considering the latest DPDT Act and the stringent clauses which government has enacted, all the healthcare administrators are required to pay attention to the current threats. Sir has 28 plus years of experience in IT security, IT transformation, telecom, switch infrastructure, intelligent networking, and broadband infrastructure. Sir is working as CEO, Data Security Council of India. It is a not-for-profit company set by NASSCOM. He oversees DSI's initiatives to enhance security and privacy culture in the country, create trust in cyberspace, building capabilities of law enforcement agencies and judiciary in digital forensics, build cybersecurity industry in the country, enact a conducive policy environment, build critical capabilities and skills for cybersecurity, develop security community, and foster global partnerships. Sir is the principal author of the DSI Security Framework and DSCI Privacy Framework. He is also closely working with the government bodies involved in policy making and capability building in cybersecurity, cybercrime investigation, data protection, and data policies. He is engaged in cybersecurity industry building in the country, fostering security research and product engineering, security product and service export, and building an ecosystem for security product entrepreneurship. With such a vast experience on data security, we look forward to your insightful presentations, thoughts, and guidance to all of us so that we can implement certain steps to have a safe information security network in our healthcare institutions. Welcome to the 19th CXO Roundtable.
Thank you.
Hand it over to you, sir.
Thank you for having me in this CXO Roundtable to CAHO and Som sir. I will certainly take you through what we see from Data Security Council of India. Cybersecurity mostly focused on ransomware and these attacks that we have been seeing spreading all across, and kind of struggle and panicky that we see, no matter how much resourceful the industry is and how much advanced in terms of technology implementation, there's still a lot of loopholes in terms of how you prepare. But even if you are prepared, there could be a small weakness or vulnerability that could lead to such kind of exploitation, because ransomware attacks are now increasingly becoming very advanced, looking at to exploit. There is a when in terms of vulnerability language, people we say there's a zero-day vulnerability. So they are trying to find weakness which there is no solution for that weakness. And
Vinayak, we are there's some problem in your voice as well. I'm not sure if your audio or am I the one who's having a problem? Or
is it okay?
I can hear you well.
Okay. Yeah, just maybe a little closer would be helpful.
Yeah, is it okay now? Are you able to? Yeah. So we are seeing that even organization which is well prepared sometimes and most of times struggle with such attacks happening. And now we heard about Tata. We also heard one unit of Infosys in US got into such kind of problem. So, and we also know that preparation in the organization is one thing, but there is an ecosystem that needs to be prepared, and that's why we work at the Data Security Council of India. So I have some slides, but I would like to hear towards the end of the presentation or between the presentation any question, doubt, or observation you have. Please feel free to express and ask question, because all of these interactions and your questions helps us to understand this better and how that works in a health sector organization. We know what happened in some of the health sector organization. We engage with at least leading health sector like Narayana Health is our member, Apollo is our member. We work nowadays closely with AIMS Delhi as well. So we started understanding the health sector and where the security and privacy ecosystem works. We also devise some kind of strategy course for health sector CIOs. So with that understanding, I try to put together some slides, but we'd like to hear from you based on the content I'm presenting. So Data Security Council of India was set up by NASSCOM as a not-for-profit independent company, and this was set up in 2008, and this year's it's 15 year of DSCI. I'll briefly talk about what we do as a DSCI. So as a DSCI, we work with national cybersecurity strategy initiative. We engage on critical technology agenda of Government of India and the sensitive organization that we work with. We also engage with sectoral regulator like RBI, IRDA, SEBI. We also engage with critical sector like oil, energy, power sector, and we also uh, engage law enforcement official to help them to understand and be competent to learn the digital forensic skills. So this is one hand we look at. Other hand, we engage with industry, different set of the industry. We have framework models and designs developed for cybersecurity and privacy, and we have created training credential for DSCI in security and privacy area. And we also nowadays work on startup in cybersecurity space. So we work with different industry domain like health sector to GCC to digital product to BFSI to telecom to oil energy to power sector to even shipbuilding, airplane protection. And we also now engage closely with Army, Air Force, and Navy in their security preparedness and critical technology agenda. And we also closely engage with the security innovation ecosystem with 300 plus startups nowadays in that ecosystem. So these are the different institutions that Data Security Council had been working with MIT on a lot of agenda for cybersecurity with MHA on different areas of cyber fraud and criminal agenda. But there is one task force which is National Task Force for Ransomware, which we are part of that task force. And at a national level, we try to see what actions needs to be taken, how should the country overall prepare for the ransomware, and I'll talk about that briefly in my presentation. We also work with the Department of Telecommunication. Is a CERT India, which is a kind of legally empowered entity for emergency response and incident response. And there are something that we engage with CERT for long, and most of the organization now has some compliance obligation with respect to the incident happen. And there's a reporting requirement there. We also engage with National Cybersecurity Coordinator's Office, which is a reporting to PMO. They take a lot of initiatives and effort at coordinating countries' national cybersecurity effort. And as I talked about, defense, IDA, and now different ministries like Ministry of Power is coming with the security requirement, and we engage with most of those line ministries which are taking some actions on cybersecurity. This is a typical membership base all across the industry vertical: banking, insurance company, credit card company, some of the government institutions as well, some hospitals, power sector organization, energy company, manufacturing company, and technology companies. And we see quite a significant awakening that is happening in different industry sector, and they have been taking quite a significant effort to improve and invest into cybersecurity, and nowadays because of DPTP Act and privacy. So these are the primarily 3 or 4 areas of DSS work. Security, we have framework, we host event, we engage with policy initiative, and we also engage with the startup and innovation ecosystem and security and privacy as well with our framework, with credential, with policy initiatives that we engage with government. And the DSA was a part of these committees which are set up by government to look at the draft for the data protection regulation. And nowadays, because we work with largely the security agencies of this country, defense plus other security agencies, and they need critical technology. So we expanded ourselves in critical technology domain, and we have some centers we set up with government's help, and there is one in Telangana at the national level we set up with the help of MIT, which is called as National Center of Excellence for Security and Startup Ecosystem. Briefly about Data Security Council, but let me come to the today's topic about ransomware and what exactly and why this particular threat is very critical as compared to other security threat, and how should we as a organization, be it a health sector or any leading technology sector like bank or critical sector like oil energy. So all of them are now grappling to look at this challenge, and there are a lot of trades that we see. There is oil energy specific trade that we have seen. Now there is manufacturing company specific trade that we have been seeing. So different industry has different their own challenges basically, and they have been this ransomware has been crafted to look at how the industry work and how to exploit those operations basically, and they have been learning and trying to devise a different ways to attack. So these are some of those kind of a known ransomwares basically, right? So there is a Lockbit, which we always talk about, which was probably the first ransomware, which and then there was a WannaCry. After that, most of us started learning about uh, uh, the ransomware and what exactly it tries to do. And so Lockbit was the first significant one, and now Lockbit 3 is going. So Lockbit 1, Lockbit 2 version, which was prevalent until now, but the recent one is Lockbit 3, which is impacting quite significantly. Then there was a Ryuk ransomware, then the WannaCry, and after that there are different versions of WannaCry, and then these different the names that people attribute to different kind of crafting of attack that have been building basically. And you'll see that every year either there is a new version of old ransomware payload or attack or virus comes in, or some new that people try to identify basically. And if you look at overall how this industry itself is now growing, so this is becoming a industry by itself. Um, so since 2020, we are seeing quite a significant jump and the kind of impact these ransomwares are creating. So apart from what I showed, three, four of them. So these are some of those known uh, names basically: ransomware, Lockbit, Arch, Sandbox Tales, CryptoStone, WannaPay, Kamira was sometime back very significant. Then Humble was very significant. And if you look at the where exactly, how exactly they get into, right? Either they will be sending mail to uh, lucrative an employee to click that mail and install something, or email will be used, or sometimes it will accompany the malware, some spam will be sent to you, or some freeware that will be looked at. So most important trait of this malware is to reach out to that individual and look at the or attract the attention and something that individual would do. For that matter, if you click the link, it will try to install the application and use that to exploit or spread in the organization basically. That remains largely trait, and after 2020 we see quite a jump in the different techniques that have been used to get into the organization basically, right? And as we have been digitizing, we are putting a lot of application in digital uh, ecosystem. We are connecting even our things and machines and equipments to network. So there are different ways, different devices and different footprint. So what exactly digitization means? Digitization means we are increasing the footprint, and that footprint is being exploited to really carry out some of these attacks basically. So if you have to really look at the what is happening now uh, in the recent past. So Lockbit 3, as I talked about, is now leading this game. They have been impacting quite a significant number of organizations all across globe. Um, Alpha V is a very manufacturing focused kind of a ransomware, and I almost every week I get 2 3 calls from some of the organizations, and most of the time if it is non-financial and non-IT, the we see Alpha V uh, exploitations and Alpha V trade there, and Alpha V is quite significant because in this particular ransomware, we usually don't see the possibility of recovery, and we have to always rebuild, and rebuild is that becomes very important part, and I'll talk about that in the coming slide. And if you have to really get overall kind of a understanding of what exactly is happening with respect to India. Until last year, as I talked about, Lockbit 2 was very significant, and I talked some of this Rook and Reveal as a part of the last slide. So these names and these kind of trades, and we try to build a kind of a larger understanding framework in terms of what exactly these ransomwares are doing basically. So ransomware, the key part is they would find delivery channels and delivery channels through which they would try to enter in the organization. And our emails, our websites, the plugins that we have, the document that we get over the mail on any other channel, the different applications that basically we may download or we may click, and nowadays devices and things that are connected to network basically. So it looks at the footprint, digital footprint, and it tries to see whether through that footprint it will come to one machine basically. And once it comes to that one machine and it starts to infect that machine, first thing it try to look at is most of the organization have this active directory system. So there is one identity management system through which you will be getting an authentication to the your machine or endpoint basically, and then try to play with the uh, this active directory to compromise the central user management system, and through that it spreads all across the organization basically. But these are primary delivery channels that we found basically, and these delivery channels been attacked either by phishing mail. So there are these mails which is sometimes very passively the communication will be sent, or sometimes there will be very active campaign targeting a user in a different way basically. Uh, uh, and then social engineering, one is phishing, but there are many other channels, like for example, even tapping the employees of a particular company. So social media channel, sometimes the pre-cracked where software is being used, and some people have tendency to the, download and install those software. Sometimes we end up clicking the advertisement which is malicious in nature, and we click that, and that clicking operation itself get the uh, ransomware implemented here. Sometimes we will open the PDFs and document which will have the payload of a ransomware embedded into that. Sometimes malware spam. So you'll get a spamming messages, and which is nowadays called as mal spam basically. The gaming site, the sometime back song files basically. So there will be Hindi songs, and you will usually struggle to get that in because of copyright. But there is some free song available, and somebody will click the free song, and that will install the malware there basically. Fake plugin, and sometimes they would also do a brute force attempt basically. So these are the different channels and attack delivery mechanisms basically. I'm not going into too much technical details in terms of what exactly happens, but they try to exploit the vulnerability, and mostly the operating system vulnerabilities basically, and they try to look at the messaging system so that they can enter and they can spread, right? And then they try to get a command powerful, so something which is giving access to them, they will try to look at. And most important part of this malware attack is they will look at the remote protocols basically. So the RDP is a remote protocol, and they will try to take control, and they will try to remotely take hold of your machine basically. So this trade that we see, and these operations are quite significantly increasing, and in most of the uh, recent plus the past, this could be the attack delivery mechanism. This could be some of the things that ransomware could be doing basically. So, but what is that behavior? And because of this behavior is becoming now very difficult to deal with. Sometimes, and this behavior is polymorphic in behavior. So polymorphic means it will not have only one trait. There are multiple different things they will try to do. So one payload of ransomware will have a lot of different kind of elements to make sure that they spread in the organization, and they try to understand different environment, and they try to look find a different ways to exploit the organization basically. Nowadays they are coming and associating with malware. They they have the ability to understand the sensitive target in the organization. So for example, they will try to identify which is the production server, which is a critical file basically. And nowadays it is coming at a important thing. They will first of all try to steal the data and then encrypt basically. And nowadays, as we have seen in recent past, like some of the data that today's uh, Taj hotels data it is there in a dark web, right? And it was ICMR also talked about it. So a lot of this data which is floating, so they try to compile all the data and then use that data and probably disclose that data in a dark web and put it for sale. Another important thing which we realized in last 2-3 years of time, earlier we would have some decryptor available. So there will be some people will decrypt the encryption, they'll break the encryption. But now they are finding ways to double, triple encryption basically. So it's very difficult to use very existing skill to decrypt that basically. And then we all realize that we will have a very good backup system, and that backup system will take care of it. But nowadays, most of the ransomware attack, first target, when say they enter, the first target is a backup. They try to exploit or disrupt that backup function, and eventually they will then disrupt the organization. So that, yeah, as I talked about, the recovery is one option and rebuild is another option, basically, right? So recovery is becoming more difficult because of the double, triple encryption, and rebuild is becoming very difficult because rebuild requires backup, and they are targeting backup basically, right? And we also know that we are learning way, right? For example, most of the security ecosystem is going to learn to recover better, right? And there are a lot of knowledge document which is getting published. People are building expertise. So the ransomware attack ecosystem is also learning how people are recovering it basically, and they are carefully crafting to disrupt this recovery as well. So this is the advancement that we are seeing here basically. And what advancement that nowadays we are seeing is the very fast and simultaneous execution that we see. Botnet malware delivery is now becoming quite significant, and all that is now leading to a kind of command control centers on all across globe. These are getting set up. So the key thing they try to do is encrypt the important file or sometimes entire media. That's one of the key things that it try to do. Second, it will try to do is to limit and restrict access to data. Third, it will try to make network system unavailable for you. Third, it will try to steal data out of you. And fourth is it will either delete entire data or start disclosing data on public or dark web basically. So these advancements are leading to, now there are two more things which we are seeing now happening is uh, so now people have started now grappling, right? People have started recovering, people have started working on this basically. And then we are realizing that there is one set of the ransomware group which is now very responsive, professional, committed. Means if you got infected, so there are ways that you can reach out to them. There are channels that are available for you to reach out to them. They will be quite responsive. They're quite professional, and they will, once you pay, they will help you to recovery well basically. So they'll be very committed to recovery, right? And because they know that if you don't really help, so this is one group, but there is another group which is very unreliable. They're really exploitative and they're very expansive as well. So you have to you have to understand the trade, and sometimes there'll be mix of these two as well actually. So one group which helps you to recover better, other group which is very kind of unpredictable, and when you are rebuilding or recovering, basically you need to understand to whom we are dealing with, and there are a lot of deceptive element and intermediaries that do come into picture. Sometimes people will come to you that key you would they will help you solve the problem, they will help you to recover basically. And we are seeing a lot of those challenges in between that after you become a victim, and once you start getting a kind of start talking to the ecosystem, there are a lot of frauds that we see, and sometimes people get into a problem just for recovery. So there are very unrealistic players in the picture, and sometimes somebody will promise you they will do negotiation, the cost will be very exorbitant. Sometimes they will start with small costs, and so a lot of those challenges we are seeing as of now, and that's why we these task force that we have with MHA, we are trying to see how can we find a ways to help victim organization better. So four key things which we need to do as a victim organization is how you contain the damage, right? So how you contain that it doesn't spread and doesn't really create a significant impact in the organization. Second is, can you quickly analyze it, which can help you remediation and also help you in recovery basically. So these are four things that you do, you try to do when you see ransomware exploitation or impact which is happening in your organization, or you have started becoming victim of the ransomware attack. So once you understand this, so against this, we are now seeing how companies and sectors are really prepared, and there we see a lot of variation uh, in terms of the preparation of a different sector, right? And that's what I would be talking about. If you really prepare uh, for this kind of attack, and these attacks are very different than what security attacks that we used to see before 2020. So 2020 the attack would happen, but most of them will be very silent. But ransomware makes it very noisy, right? And it so in cybersecurity, since we have been seeing, there are very few attacks which has that potency of creating that kinetic impact in the organization. And ransomware has really come to that level where it it disrupts the operations for some time, and it has achieved some kind of a kinetic capability or a potency basically, and that's why ransomware got quite a significant attention. And against this, if I see how organizations are prepared, so um, we see most of the preparation for security are still in most of the hospitals also we see, and some of the public sector organization we see, some private sector organization we see. So most of the time security preparedness means what? Doing audit, assessment, penetration testing, some kind of compliance verification, some kind of control, and the very basic controls basically will have. So this is I've seen more significant organizations are still doing the security in a very conventional way, just focusing attention to assessment and gap assessment, VAPT kind of exercise basically. But what is now coming, the way the advancement that basically we are seeing uh, is is making security more real time. Means the once they any ransomware enters through some email or kind of a endpoint of any user basically. So how quick you are to know that this is something happening, and and identify that and make sure that on a real time basis basically you are taking care of that basically. So how do you make security more in a way that it it identifies and manages problem in more real time basis, coming away from this audit assurance driven security to real time management of the problem basically, and making it more contextual, situational, and this governance is more automated governance, and this is a very important. And most of the security capability technology nowadays basically is focusing on helping organization to manage the uh, security in more real-time basis, and that's why enterprise security technology ecosystem is quite significantly increasing. And last 5 6 years of time, we see a lot of investment, lot of spends are happening in cybersecurity. Currently, world is spending almost $250 billion on cybersecurity. The audit and assurance wouldn't have led to that kind of spend. So why the spend is happening in cybersecurity? Because now security entire technology services processes map has come to the level where it is helping organization to manage the problem more real time basis. So how do you prepare for that? So this is one of the important thing that we should be uh, devising way to make sure that we manage security more real time basis. Then even if you invest for that, we know that this is targeting that small vulnerability exists in the organization even for a fraction of moment, and most of the attacks are now looking at finding that one thing. So there will be million situations that will go well, and out of that one will be creating one will be weaker, and that will be exploited basically. If that is there, then how can you respond and recover better, right? And those response and recovery is now becoming a matter of a lot of complex thing basically. Every organization is different. The deployment that you have is different. The way you use technology is different. Way you have separate up network is different. Way you have the kind of user that you have enabled is different basically. So in that case, how you make the response and recovery more systematized, more coordinated, more multi-dimensional, because the ransomware itself try to look at multiple different way to attack into. So that is the area we see most of the organization, even if they are advanced, struggling in that area basically. And we also know that once the attack happens, then there are a lot of compliance obligation like CERT India directive, which talks about if you are seeing such kind of attack, the 6 hours you should be within 6 hours you should be reporting to us basically. So making the response and recovery and focusing attention on that is a very important part of the journey, and this is how you can achieve maturity in terms of dealing with overall security, but more importantly from ransomware perspective. And then we know, as I was talking about, this threat is such a significant. You may not have uh, all variable, all kind of instrument and tools and capability within the organization. You need to work with the ecosystem. The government has to spend effort in this basically. The national strategy should be supporting that. And that is the effort that we at the University Council of India put together. For example, there is a national strategy, national task force for ransomware. We are part of that, and there are a lot of policy regulation. Sometimes you may register, like to register case against somebody. So the police needs to understand this. Government has to work. There is a Government of India initiative like Cert India, which helps you in this particular case. We need to have security leadership understanding this. So we need to build security leadership like that. And there are some areas where you need a lot of research and innovation as well. So these are the areas that we, apart from government, we also contribute in this area. So making security to manage problem real-time basis and making it more responsive and resilient is the where basically we should be moving to take care of this ransomware. So out of this, what I try to do is I try to jot down some points basically, which are very practical points for hospital organization to take care when you are looking at addressing the ransomware challenges. So one important thing is strategically what you need to do is uh, uh, what kind of arrangement that you have for security to make sure that you are providing due attention to ransomware and you are invested proportionately for cybersecurity. That's one of the important area that you should be looking at basically, right? Then, as we have seen, small weakness leads to bigger problems. So then, how you are getting system, configuring them, and connecting to the network, uh, uh, that needs to be checked basically, right? Then even when you are deploying those systems, they may not be vulnerable, but in the course of time, they will become vulnerable basically. So how you are what kind of arrangement you are making to know that vulnerabilities are identified, you are taking care of those vulnerability, the malware uh, attacks, which are there is some protection against that, and there is some protection against endpoint compromises and also disruption basically. So that's another effort key. What kind of arrangement, solutions, technology you have basically, right? Then you need to that see the arrangement that you have to make sure that if attack happens, what kind of response mechanism you have created in the organization basically. How you are engaging end user basically, because their small mistake will lead to larger, bigger ramification basically. So there's some of the strategic effort that you need to put together. Some of the tactical effort is uh, you need to really have very effective and measurable programs for managing vulnerability, patches, backup, uh, monitoring system, and detection response. And that comes with two things basically. One is the technology solution you implement, and also operations that you set up on top of it basically. Um, how you set up a governance to address legal, financial, operation, reputational aspect. How most part here is the endpoint, which get impacted to start with. So how you can get a control of the endpoint basically. How is there a way for you to restrict the access to the system or to the links to the content basically, which will bring the ransomware or such kind of malware in the organization ecosystem basically. Um, or can you create a mechanism to measure the preparedness of user basically? And as I talked about, there are a lot of ecosystem which is working to help you basically. So what kind of plan that you have to collaborate with external ecosystem? So that's another tactic. So this is a tactical arrangement that you should be making apart from the strategic one. At operational level, uh, the configuration and hardening needs to be taken very seriously, and continuous review has to be there to make sure that the devices are configured securely and you are making sure that they are hardened to take care of to make to ensure that they don't expose the vulnerability basically, right? The remote access is very important part, and how you secure and strengthen remote access is critical part basically. In between, it a small scale or big scale, you should do a campaign drills to have the understanding if something like that happen, how would you react to that basically, right? So, and there are some professional consultancy you can give. We do it for the different of the state of the organization, carrying out this drill and simulation exercise basically. And at the same time, the endpoint, which is an entry, so you need to continuously monitor the endpoints basically. So there are larger three-level effort, strategic, tactical, and operational effort that we need to put for the ransomware. So this is with this slide, uh, uh, I leave this slide here, and probably this is what I would like to conclude with this slide. And we have some time for any of your question or discussion, and to know for we are also learning from our side to what it takes for the health sector organization. So how exactly systems are evolved, how you are connecting to the network. So we would like to now discuss and understand your views on that basically.
Thank you so much, sir. We have got an overview of what we have to be prepared for in future. We have received two questions from our audience. I will read back those questions. One is from Dr. Murli. He says, please advise a stepwise approach to raise immediate complaint to appropriate authority in case of data breach or attack. He's referring from, you have mentioned that we can report in a TAT of within 4 hours or 6 hours to NDSI. So what is the detailed process
So
you want?
this is now as per this IT Act, uh, Computer Emergency Response Team of India, it's called as CERTIN, which has now it's a legally empowered entity, and there is a compliance obligation on the organization that in 6 hours they should be uh, reporting the incident that they are seeing in the organization, basically, right? And for that, it also asks that there should be somebody in the organization designated to report such incidents, basically, right? And you should be also communicating who the organization will be engaged with certain on this particular matter. So that's the first step, basically, identifying a function or person who would do this for you, basically. Second is some mechanism that I talked about that you should have to know the uh, incident or exploitation happening in your organization, basically. I'll tell you that even if you don't have, somebody else will be knowing about your, because once there is a infection happens or some incident happens in the organization, you may not be aware, but the world, somebody in the world will be knowing it because it will start communicating externally. It will start making those connections basically. So if you don't do it, and I've seen that cases in big organization in telecom sector or IT sector, some third party researcher has reported that or probably wrote a public kind of a document on that basically. So having that monitoring mechanism and those capability to let you know okay, this is something happening in the organization, that's the second step basically. Third step is there are ways to report this. So CERT has published some guidance, but there are some professional guidance also available how exactly you should report to the authority. And uh, once you report, basically they will reach out to you for more information. So they may ask for some information. So these are 2-3 steps that you should be really building. And for that to happen, depending on the budget you have, some organization has set up security operations center. They have set up some kind of tool. They extract the log. And from the log they could able to correlate those logs to know okay, this is happening basically. So there will be a lot of technology implementation required. Sometimes you may not have your own technology, your own people, so you can then outsource to some managed security provider. There are some company which offers you the managed detection and response services. So you don't have to invest in technology. You have to just detect the services, and they will do all the work for you basically. In some cases, if you don't have in-house people or in-house expert, you can even, so there is a virtual CISO ecosystem which is coming in. So somebody which can work with you as a CISO, and you can get their services and they can help you manage this basically. So these are some of the steps that you can think about doing to take care of these obligations.
Vinayak, it may be important for us to discuss here that when something, and it's number one, it's real. It can happen to any one of us. It's not happening to the other person. It's not about hotel. It can happen to anyone who has digitized data, and healthcare is now getting more and more digitized. But once an attack happens, the whole organization gets involved because they shut down your business.
Yeah.
So the question is, somebody has to negotiate, somebody has to recover the system. Customers are getting worried because your systems are not working, you're not able to release reports, invoices, whatever else. So, one of the things that is essential is to establish a response team within the organization, because when a crisis happens, then we are all searching around what to do. And we have seen it in large organizations that this happens.
Yeah.
So I think the message for all of us is that we should first believe that it could happen to us tomorrow, or maybe happening to us right now. And being paranoid about this in the current circumstances is not bad. And, CAHO is already talking about how we are all paranoid about medical safety. But in this case, protecting data operations becomes even more important. For example, if they take over our infrastructure, many of our operating theaters could be threatened. The need to bring in experts is very important. Because they know, even for negotiations, we should not try and do negotiations ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we could have a big problem. So I think, Vinayak, you might want to help this group. I'm sure there are many people who are already doing all of it, but largely not. And this is not the end of our association with DSCI, because we need help in this area. Would you want to spell out some more areas?
Yeah, so we have seen that if there is a big organization like AIMS or Oil India, there are ways to there are support available to them. Government itself will come ahead and support them, right? But we are worried about there is a one big thing happen somewhere in Pune, something happen in small cities, basically, right? So getting that initial first support is very critical, and in that also getting to know that what you need to do, right? I just talked about two key things: response and recovery, or recovery and rebuild, right? So coming to that conclusion itself, whether you should try to get somebody's help to decrypt. So there are some people who will be helping with the decryption, and there are some false promises which should come as there is an industry altogether is now emerging to help, to promising you help, and lot of those dicey and legitimate practices we are seeing in that industry, which is in fact there was a report as well. There was an organization to just get a business, they try to attack the organization basically. Yeah, sometimes I know one case where initial they promise ki 25 lakhs they will help negotiate well, and they try to recover you, and then suddenly they raise the cost, and there was a lot of dicey transaction which was going on there basically, right? So here I think uh, uh, legitimate and authenticity matters a lot. So you should know to whom you are talking, and that's why the arrangement I talked about. Like you should be probably at least making something like something like this happens basically. So to whom we are connecting, to whom we are contacting. We are working with the government on because our worry is ki how can we support those organizations in SMB sector and non-IT sector basically, or non-tech sector basically. So we are creating regional industry task force. So what we are trying to do, I'm not sure whether we will be able to achieve that in coming 2-3 months of time. So we are getting almost 50-60 organizations. We are first cohort we are doing, and we'll be notifying with help of government, evaluating them. And different cities, this could be the organization that will be approached. And there are three things we are doing. So somebody who can help you prepare better, somebody which can help you manage that particular challenge, or somebody could help you after victimization, what could they could help you after that basically. So one is the support, but as you said, internally there should be at least some effort that we need to invest, at least to the level that we, though those individuals or those team or the functions team, they should know how to leverage the market support available, leverage the certain support available, or some other government support available, or are competent enough to engage with law enforcement, because every state government is now also putting together some kind of cert. So you can also talk to state government, talk to police forces. So that team has to be definitely there in the organization. And the appropriate investment is also at least basic level of investment, like some good antivirus solution, good networking solution. So those investments definitely require to make sure that we are managing problem in real time basis.
Thank you so much, sir. Aninda sir has asked a question: what should be the electronic safeguards by a corporate hospital against ethical hacking by enforcement agencies on its systems?
I don't think any enforcement agency will do any hacking attempt on you, right? In fact, that's why we don't really like the word hacking. And even if we say hacking, we don't use the word ethical hacking. There is no ethics in hacking, right? Testing is the better way. Uh, what? But I get this question, like, how do you make sure that you are protected against such kind of hacking attempts, right? One part is uh, there is a something we call as attack surface, right? As you are digitizing, you are expanding the surface, right? And the systems are available for others to look at from remotely on internet, basically. Is there a way for you to manage your surface, attack surface, basically better? At least those systems which are connected to internet, they are patched well, they are configured well. People, even if people are trying to attack them, so they withstand with those attacks, basically. So managing that your surface well is the first best step, right? For example, you have application, and application is deployed over the internet, right? And people would, if the even if this application is there and all across we are seeing that the moment you put application online, there will be attempt that will happen, basically. But if you have a good web doesn't cost you much. There are some open source solution available. Is the web is web application firewall. So the application level firewall, basically, right? If you have that, so then it will not make most of the internal system visible to the external world, right? It will also block a lot of traffic, malicious traffic coming to you, basically. Some of these things will reduce the surface of attack, basically. So this could be one critical way in terms of really withstanding with such kind of hacking attempts on your organization.
Got it. Dr. Ashok is asking how much budget to be allocated for small and medium-sized organizations, up to 50 bed or 70, 100 bed. But that will vary, I believe, basis their infrastructure and their platforms which they are operating.
Yeah, so I think that there are larger understanding now coming is for a big organization, they have separate budget for IT, right? And now, some years back, we used to say 10-12% of IT budget will be enough for cybersecurity, but because the way attacks are happening, so we have now started hearing that even 20-30% of IT budget needs to be going to cybersecurity. So that could be major, right? Initially, you would start making some small investment, but eventually you need to, and then the cost is also nowadays. There are various different models that you can leverage, right? I was talking about rather than setting up your own security operations center, that will be very costlier for you, but you can go for managed detection and response. There's some team which will be investing for you on technology, and they'll take care of managing it better, right? So that will reduce the cost quite significantly. So I can say that if there is IT budget, I'm sure some organization have IT budget. In that IT budget, uh, at least 15-20% of the IT budget should be going to cybersecurity.
Mr. Chaudhary, CEO RV Healthcare, is asking, in case of a data breach, what is the liability of the healthcare provider in legal terms with respect to disclosure to confidential patient-related data on the web?
So now, I think this is now coming to data and DPDP Act, right? So and now DPDP Act has uh, mm, talked about in general 250 crore rupees liability, and
Correct.
some cases 500 crore liability. But It's not like you will be for every breach you will be liable to 250 crore rupees. It's so the most of these liability equations are getting would be get driven case by case basis basically. Uh, if you have taken a kind of a contemporary due diligence basically, um, and there is no negligence, there is no deliberate negligence basically, right? Uh, so there are a lot of words that DPDP talks about, whether it's first time, whether it's deliberate, whether you're taken reasonable care. So some of these words would determine where the liabilities will be imposed on you basically. It's not that every case 250 crore rupees liability will be there. So there will be definitely some reason that will get into place, and that's why proving diligence, proving that you have taken basic care, you have some architecture, some technology solution, some continuous monitoring, some mechanism to take care of the patching and vulnerability management. If these are there, still something will happen. But because you have taken due care, the liability will go down basically. If you don't have such kind of investment, you don't have the people to look at this, you don't have competent professional investment, then liability will be quite significant for you.
Got it, sir. Thank you. Dr. Saurav is asking, is there any particular thing to look into while shifting to a new hospital information software in respect to this kind of ransomware? I mean, when we are procuring a new software, what all we need to look for?
Yeah, so this is very important question because most of us do digital transformation, and that entails to either getting into new application. Some startup will come and give you application and you will deploy it basically, or sometimes you will get into a big system, you will integrate with some external system. Now we have this NHA system where you'll be connecting to the external ecosystem as well, right? So uh, I think asking those critical questions in terms of how the software is built, right? Um, uh, may simple example, right? May I had recently seen the software is built on PHP platform, and the PHP package version was earlier, which has a lot of vulnerability, which were not patched. Um, so one part is the underlying software application infrastructure, how strong it is, how it, how the patching and configuration, how it is patched, configured, and more importantly deployed basically. So one level of questioning is underlying application infrastructure. Second level of question is, if you are developing these applications are developed, it should at least adhere to some of the secure development practices basically, right? And those practices, you need to find a ways to check those uh, the, how securely the software is built, which can be uh, asking those critical questions: what kind of security preparation you have done, what is your security checklist, how you devise this, what processes. So some kind of this question will help you. Or you can ask, have you done one of the assessment of your software? Give us a report basically. How you make sure that the once application is deployed, you will continuously help us with the vulnerability that get identified with the software. So some of this questioning would help you to achieve security, and uh, software vulnerability leading to ransomware is also becoming very important threat actually. Although that's still emerging, most of the time ransomware will be infecting your endpoint, sending you phishing mail. Another important part is your mail security. So it should be very important as well, because mail is becoming very important delivery mechanism. So having some level of email security is also critical. Is apart from the application or network endpoint.
Got that, sir. Thank you so much. So we have got a lot of insights. I will not ask you to refer us some names for the managed security services, but we will search and try to obtain the quotations and understand how to define the scope basis the customized IT infrastructure what we are having in our various organizations, and try to implement the security planning at the earliest. This is a very good session because we are sitting at the leg end of November. As the administrator, we all will be involved in budgeting process in December to finalize our budgets by Jan Feb, and this will be definitely a part of our financial planning and a focus area at least in the coming financial year, to be included and implemented in principle, considering DPDT and everything and all the transformation which is happening at a very fast pace in IT sector, especially related to healthcare. So we do not have any questions, and there is one Dr. Russell has posted: is utilization of cloud storage prone to hospital data breach? Sir, we will handle this as the last question
Yeah,
and
so
close the
I think
session.
the good backup solution are important, right? So, and some of the cloud backup solutions, you good ransomware immunity basically, right? So, for example, we have deployed a ransomware solution, ransomware prone backup solution, which is on cloud basically, right? So, when you are mm, is cloud storage for hospital data, you have to make sure that uh, it, it is prone or it could withstand with a ransomware attack that may happen then basically, right? And a lot of new age storage solutions offer you those capabilities.
Got it, sir. Vijay, sir, words from you, sir.
No. Anyway, I had to get out for joining another meeting, so
Okay, sir.
I'll be listening to your recording, and I'm sure that it would have been very useful to our sector to understand. And I think it's going to be a beginning because most of us in the healthcare will have to really spend time for a deeper understanding of this very complex thing that is going on. But extremely important is that we keep ourselves safe, and also more important, I'm sure, like what Mr. Godse must have explained, that if it happens, then what do you do?
And I'll just take Nishant 1 minute.
Yeah.
So 2008, we had formed the DSCI because the IT industry was very vulnerable by itself because they were dealing with customers across the world and their data. So we were doing work with the IT industry, but we realized that the rest of the industry also is vulnerable, and hence DSCI was created. Depending upon how much is the appetite, I would urge some of you, at least the larger ones, to become members of DSCI. It's a very small fee. But what you get is then regular updates of what's going on. They have a conference. Please encourage your people to come and join that part. It is quite unfortunate that we have to spend time on a thing which is otherwise dysfunctional, but then, as Vinayak mentioned, it's become an industry for them. So here we have to tackle it at a larger scale. So I'm really happy that CAHO took up this initiative. While many of you are aware of what's happening, we have seen disasters across. You might not be hearing it in the press, but there is a lot happening. And given India's own visibility right now in the world, I think we are becoming more vulnerable. So thank you, Vinayak, again. And please.
Is it possible to make people, CAHO as a member so that our members become an automatic member or something like that?
We
So
will
that
look at the possible thing.
yeah.
There is a definitely institutional membership we have, but we'll talk to Nishant, see
Okay.
we look at. I mean, there are definitely.
I will become the member.
Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you so much, sir, Vijay sir, Som sir, Godse sir. Thank you so much, and all the friends and colleagues from IT sectors, CEOs, CXOs, for taking out time and addressing this important subject in concurrent times. We will look forward in our future CXOs on the similar topics to share knowledge and how we can implement strategies in our institutions.